Good morning, my name is Kari Kwas with the Snohomish Conservation District. Thanks for being here in the Delta neighborhood today. We're going to be kicking off the tree planting.
Welcome everyone here to our neighborhood and thank everyone for their volunteering, just being involved in any way that you happen to be involved with this project. Volunteers from the Delta Neighborhood Association, League of Women Voters, Snohomish Conservation District have put in many hours of work to make it to this day. So the Delta neighborhood is located east of Broadway, north of 19th Street. It's situated along the Snohomish River. So those are our natural boundaries. And it's one of the more diverse neighborhoods in the city. It's one of the older historic neighborhoods. Most of the homes date back to the post-war. 80 years ago, the Everett Housing Authority chose this neighborhood to build low-income housing, which was much needed then as it is now. It did create essentially what is the lowest income census tract of Snohomish County. You have a high number of elderly and disabled residents, and yeah, as tends to happen sometimes, neighborhoods like ours have some gaps in our tree canopy.
The Delta neighborhood is, I would say, more of an environment where there isn't a lot of trees and vegetation. And so we're really trying to increase access to greenery within communities.
About 2 years ago, my daughter and I, she's a Girl Scout, so we were out selling cookies around March time period. Around the same time, I learned about the street tree program that the city has, and I just thought, well, as much as we've been able to walk the neighborhood and doorbell selling cookies, why couldn't we do the same thing offering street trees and just really informing neighbors that the street tree program exists and walking them through the process of signing up for a tree. So let's just get as many applications in as we can and kind of push the system to its maximum use. That's when Kate came along.
We heard that Ryan Weber was going to get the Girl Scouts to go door to door in the Delta neighborhood and ask people if they wanted to get a tree planted in their yard. And then the city ran out of funding. The League of Women Voters got a grant from the Henry M. Jackson Foundation to buy the trees. The Snohomish Conservation District and the Nature Conservancy have stepped up to do the heavy lifting with this. So it just shows what a partnership can do. Our league has researched tree canopy benefits since 2017 and asked how LWVSC can affect urban tree canopy as a response to the climate crisis in Snohomish County. I asked around in the county who might be doing this kind of work on urban trees, because that is identified as a real response to the climate crisis. That's how I heard about Ryan, and I got in contact with him and we started talking, and I realized that the Delta Neighborhood Association has been working on this idea for a couple of years, and it sounded like a really good fit for us because it has an education element that we hope to be able to assist with. Ryan gave us a tour with the City Parks Department and the Department of Public Works for an hour to look at the properties and learn a lot about what these challenges are, where trees can and can't be planted, and move on to what will be possible about getting commitments from homeowners to accept the responsibility of having this tree on their property. They will have to maintain it.
To water it deeply for a couple of summers. I believe that was the identifying requirements.
But then cleaning up, limbing up if they have to, and that's a commitment. So we want to make sure that people understand what they're signing up for.
For me today is actually about equity. So a couple years ago I was on the tree committee for Everett, and I noticed that they have a tree policy where the city will plant a tree and maintain it for a year. And I noticed there were certain neighborhoods that weren't part of that work. And I said, who's allowed to have a tree? And they said you have to have a sidewalk or enough space in your front yard. But not all of our neighborhoods are built the same.
You know, I go on Virginia Street, the street up from here, and it's just filled with trees. And so I always love walking down that street with my dog.
There's a lot of benefits for everybody, health benefits, and even just how the neighborhood
Pleasing,
looks.
yeah. It's pleasing to the eye.
This
really.
is about equity because if not everyone had access to a tree, then we have neighborhoods that don't have as much trees, not as much shade, higher heat indexes.
Our house is an oven.
Yeah, it's cooking. We actually just got AC this year.
Things like that. So we want to save green space. We want to have green space. We want to have an urban canopy. And today I feel like that's a step towards righting that past wrong and making up for a policy that failed a number of residents in this city.
Area. I'll work with the city of Everett to determine, the best care, help with the smelter cleanup, and make sure that we have the funding. So I've been following that and making sure that, as in my role as a state legislator, that money is continuing to flow and we're continuing to clean up the sites. And
I know we are in the contaminated area.
We have not gotten our soil tested. So we were planning on doing it at the end of summer.
And thank you everyone for being here, all of our wonderful partners. The Nature Conservancy approached us, asked us if we wanted to get involved in urban street tree planting, and I said absolutely, that fits so well with our programming. We try to bring conservation to everybody, in the rural environment, the urban environment, and everywhere in between. And they had some funding for us to do this. I started doing a little research online, found a wonderful article about the value of urban trees that Kate was instrumental in writing and getting published. And
so there are many benefits to planting trees. The first and foremost is trying to combat stormwater pollution. So trees filter pollutants out of stormwater, which ultimately goes into our waterways and then going directly to the Puget Sound. So that's first and foremost for us. Additionally, it provides wildlife habitat, migratory birds, everything from, small mammals to amphibians as well. But not only does it, have all these environmental benefits, it provides cooling for areas where there's not trees, a lot of heat in urban areas. Trees provide ambient, cooler temperatures in certain areas where they're planted.
And that led me to the League of Women Voters, and we started chatting. That led me to Ryan and the Delta Neighborhood. So we just had some wonderful partners here. And then, of course, the city of Everett, who has a tree program, urban tree planting program, but it had been defunct for a little while due to lack of funding. So they're reinvigorating that, and we're helping with that with some funding. So really excited to be here today. And we're now going to go plant a couple of trees. We're going to do the ceremonial planting of the first tree.
I have 2 children here, so I often think of the future of the earth and the neighborhood that we live in. The best way to leave a legacy is to plant a tree. It's an ancient Germanic tradition to plant a tree to mark a birth or a special occasion, to grow along with the child, or to serve as a marker of a significant event. The efforts of our labor will outlast us all, growing over time, bringing cleaner air, filtering groundwater, canceling noise, combating climate change, and improving the overall quality of life for all of our residents. So let's mark this day as a turning point, where the residents of this community and our allies reduce historic inequities in our city and grow to a greener, more equitable future.